You get paid just enough so you don't quit. Every promotion looks like growth. But at some point, success stops meaning that you're growing. It starts meaning that the number is bigger. The system is designed to create dependence on a paycheck. The better you are at fixing problems, the more problems land on your desk. Hard work does not equal fair reward. You can reach the top and still be disposable. Most people only question the system when their pain crosses that threshold. Your career will feel empty no matter how high you climb. Here are all the things I wish I knew about corporate success before I joined corporate America more than 50 years ago. I spent 18 years at Morgan Stanley, and prior to that, 5 years at Price Waterhouse and a few others before that. So here are some of mine. These may not be yours, but it's worth a listen. Number one, you get paid just enough so you don't quit. Now, this is not something that hasn't been said before. It was said by John Gutfreund, I believe that was his name. He was the CEO of Salomon Brothers back in the 70s and 80s. And our boss, John Mack at Morgan Stanley, mentioned that a few times at different managing director meetings. And it sort of was meant to motivate, it was meant to inspire managing directors to do better, to excel. But this sentence that I heard not once, but several times in different speeches made by him, I'm not blaming him, just to be clear, you get paid just enough so you don't quit. Now, this came out of the industrial era, when everything was divided into assembly lines and you had to make things work so that everybody was efficient. Everything was about productivity. And so this is an outcome of that. And then when it comes to services business, rather than manufacturing businesses and assembly lines, it became quite clear that in order to make people efficient and make them produce services, quality, delivered to clients, whatever the service might have been, it was important to pay them enough, motivate them enough. If they did well, pay them more. You get the picture. So climb a corporate ladder, etc. So anyway, point number one is you get paid just enough so you don't quit, because they want to make you comfortable enough so that when you want to leave, it feels risky. And by the way, none of this to tell you that you should quit your job. That's not what I'm talking about. Just to be clear. But you need to be tapped into who you are. That's what I'm getting to. So comfortable enough that it feels risky to leave. You look at your mortgage, you got school fees, you got a lifestyle that you're maintaining and holding on to, and you've built it and you want to sustain it. So you realize that the next bonus is already spent in your head. What are you going to do with the money when you get that in January or whenever your bonus is? That's how the number starts deciding for you. You are being dictated by the number. That's my first. Second, every promotion looks like growth. Sure, there are different rungs of the ladder that you climb in corporate culture. I've seen as many as 27 in my life in other countries. Within our hierarchy, within Wall Street firms, it's usually no more than 6 or 7. But every organization has a culture or structure of climbing. That's why they call it corporate ladder climbing. So every promotion comes with, an implicit promise, either more money, more responsibility, more coverage, more geography, more importance, clearly. And nobody, however, says to you, hey, does the rung move you closer to the life you actually want? Or does it just move you to go inside the system? The system is the system. And we're talking about the system right now. You're expected to assume that up always means better. There are certain cultures, I worked in one, consulting firms and audit firms. Up means if you don't make it up and you don't get promoted, you're out. So it's up or out. And if you do make it up to the next rung, then you get better. We had 12 ladders 12 rungs in that ladder that I recall. I don't know what it's like now. Number 3, success quietly becomes money. As you can see, everyone is chasing money. If you hear anything that anybody talks about trying to sell you something on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, it's all about making you more money and sometimes saving you money, but it's about money. And your doing in the corporate context becomes your identity. I'm the managing director at Morgan Stanley, or I'm a vice president of sales, or I'm the senior vice president that runs delivery. Take your pick. But at some point, success stops meaning that you're growing. It starts meaning that the number is bigger. And often we chase a number. And then what happens? What you do, any of these functions, it becomes who you are. You introduce yourself at a party or get together or your social occasion. Hey, Raju, what do you do? I run Morgan Stanley's blah, blah, blah division, or I am the head of this. Who are you is not the question. Oh, what do you do at Morgan Stanley? Well, I run global risk, or I'm a technology engineer. I'm the SVP of sales. So you become that because the idea is that someone pegs you, and then your next thing is, oh, he's there or she's there, and then they're imagining what you're going to be doing with respect to that job. So it's targets, it's sprinting, it's reviews, it's the next deal, the big revenue increase in the next quarter. So if you took all of that away for like 6 months, a lot of leaders would not know how to introduce themselves, as I said, at a dinner table. It always comes down to what you do and where you are in the hierarchy. It doesn't matter. You could be a 24-year-old kid as an analyst, a senior analyst, and I'm VP and what have you. So I'm just saying that the system is designed to peg you in ways that, it becomes part of our language. It becomes part of our identity. Number 4, the system is designed to create dependence on a paycheck. You may have heard of many addictions in life. And somebody reached out to me maybe a year or two ago, and they said, hey, Raju, I'm really addicted. And I go, you got to see a therapist. I'm a coach. I can't help you. No, he meant he was addicted to a paycheck. And that's an addiction too, because your lifestyle theoretically rises with income. You buy a bigger home, home number 1, home number 2, as you go up the ladder. Your trips, your habits change. If you didn't drink wine or a cheap wine, now you're drinking, fancy wine, or you now have the cellars and you go on, high-flying visits. You get invited to golf games, and it's the picture. And I mean, I've been through it all, so I can tell you from experience as well. Yes, it feels good, trust me. And so it's like, if my former boss did it, I gotta get there. So this is my thing to do. So, but the system is showing you that you see yourself when you doing that. What did I say? Depending on the paycheck, and the paycheck gets slightly bigger, but the prospect that the bonus might be bigger. Ooh. So you go, okay, well, it's pretty good. I'll keep going. And you tell yourself that you're choosing this. In practice, the fixed costs actually are chasing you because you keep raising your fixed costs. Number 5, colleagues, congratulations, and they're celebrating your promotion or the success, and you might have done the same thing to your colleagues, wishing them well. So people clap. Some people clap because they like you. Some people clap because it helps them, paves the way for their next rung to climb, or because you create more space for their promotion. Okay, you hear, "Hey, well deserved, Raju." Well, you don't hear that this keeps the machine running. The system, I'm talking about the system. The system wants you to do that. We had a 1% limitation on Wall Street, typically, of the total employee strength. 1% was the senior partners or managing directors. So if you're one of the 1%, in my case, I was 560 in my year, managing directors, and then there were 55,000 people, roughly. So to be one of those was coveted, and you feel like you belong. And it's, everything that goes with that status just becomes part of you. So peers congratulating you there, and so it's all part of the system. And I'm not saying they're jealous or not. That's not the issue. It's just the fact is that that's the machine that keeps running. So number 6, moving on to that. And all these seem related. And if they seem related, well, they kind of are, because we're talking about the overall system of corporations that runs. And again, as I said, that's how it runs. I mean, 98% of the world is employees, right? So theoretically, you could say that 98% of the world works for the other 2%, the entrepreneurs and founders and so on. And none of this is wrong or right, because oftentimes when someone accuses me that you're coaching people to quit their jobs, no, I'm certainly not suggesting that at all. Or your entrepreneurship is a difficult journey. Oh yeah, it's not for everybody. It's been 21 years doing this, so I can tell you that it's not None of it is straightforward. And it is true that 95% of the businesses fail within the first year. So why would you take that risk, right? Until you know, or unless you know from experience what actually happens. So you wouldn't do that. So the point of this is that if you understand the system, you can actually operate with a different lens and for your own growth. Number 6, a good title. A good title, like an SVP, VP, whatever, can hide a bad season for years. What do I mean by that? You have a little performance issue in a year, but because you have the title, you can actually get away with it because there's always somebody to blame on your team or the organization or whatever is going on, in that quarter or in that time. So the title creates a story. People see the story and stop looking deeper at how that leader has climbed. They ignore the fact that because they're a senior, it must be all good. And if you ask any of the leaders who are senior and have achieved quite a bit in their 10, 20, 30-year career, I think heaviness is on the chest. And so I identified with that. I've seen it with people now since I left corporate America about 21 years ago. A good title can hide a bad season for a long time. So you can spend years being held up as a success story while quietly thinking, is this it? Why does it not feel better? Because every year you're on the same hamster wheel. Because the title keeps everyone, including you, me, from asking that too loudly. Number 7, the better you are at fixing problems, the more problems land on your desk. I mean, this is classic corporate grind. I mean, this is what happens. If you are a good person solving problems faster, and you do it faster and faster because you get good at it, the more comes at you. That's not about good or bad. It is how it works. It's a natural tendency for someone who brings up a problem to me, and they're my subordinate. And if your team member comes up and always is bringing up problems, expecting you to solve them, what happens? Either you want them to solve the problem, or you end up getting frustrated because you don't want to trust, or you don't trust them enough because they keep bringing up problems. You end up doing it yourself. Another example is you have a person who keeps bringing up problems but doesn't bring up solutions. So naturally, someone on your team who brings solutions with the problems, they're the person to watch out for. And then what do? You end up giving it to them. Hey, you know those solutions? Well, give it a try. And so the system then rewards those people that are actually bringing the solutions, not the problems. So the better you are at fixing the problems, the more problems land on your desk. And then if you are that person, you get the broken project or the angry client to sort out, the underperforming team, and then you become the problem solver because you don't trust anybody else to do this. And over time, you notice that there is a pattern. The things that should have been built right upstream, they keep ending up downstream with you. So the organization is using your strength to cover its, I dare say, structural weakness. So oftentimes, if you're really good as a problem solver at that level or whatever level, you become the default mechanism that basically covers for the organizational weakness without intent. The system isn't, or the organization doesn't think of it as a weakness. But because of the natural process of what's happening, you then become the guy that covers up or covers the things. Not cover ass, but actually solve the problem. And then everything comes to you. So it's a fact of life that if you are actually the one that people come to, it's a good sign, but you have to watch out. That if you are the person that people keep coming to, are you really the person that's efficient and moving the organization forward? So it becomes heavy. Number 8, hard work does not equal fair reward. God, I mean, I always give the example of, the janitor, the cleaner, the bathroom cleaner at airports. I mean, you've seen people. JFK is a classic example, the airport in New York. It's so clear that people work 2-3 jobs, and those are the hardest working jobs. I mean, you wouldn't want to do a menial job there and get paid minimum wage. If hard work was the only criteria, man, they should be getting paid a lot. So why is it hard work not? Everybody talks about hard work. My dad told me to work hard, and this one tells me to work hard. My teachers told me to work hard. Work hard is fine, but what does that even mean? Work hard seems to imply that you spend more hours doing things so that, you either prove to yourself that you can work hard, or does that mean you're efficient? The answer is no. The amount of hours in the day that we all have is the same. To that janitor at JFK, uh, a maid that cleans your house, perhaps, or a peon, or messenger, or the managing director. They all have the same amount of hourly times, or the times in the calendar. So what am I saying here? Corporate life pays for your time, your role, the leverage you have, and sometimes for politics too. That's another story. You know for a fact there are many people working far less hard and getting paid far more. Or outside your work, socially, you probably have friends and other people that have an easy life. They make 50 grand a year, $1,000 a year, and they're cool. They still save money because their needs are small. That doesn't mean they live small. They feel good about their life, and that's good for them. But if we're chasing money, this is what we're going to encounter: faster climbs, faster this, etc. The ladder climbing, and then you are the guy that solves all the problems. And by the way, when I say guy, I mean, I'm not being gender focused here. If you link to your sense of fairness to effort, you will always be waiting forever, because the system was not designed around that equation. So that's not the equation. In my case, the system rewarded ideas. And then when you have ideas and you can execute them, that's the reward that you get. Now, whether it's fair or not, that's another equation to ponder. So anyway, number 8 was hard work does not equal fair reward. And I can go on and on about this. There are many examples from not only my life, and I've seen it through my coaching years now. It's very similar. Okay. Number 9, you can reach the top and still be disposable. You get that, right? You can reach the top and still be disposable. Getting fired, the company can get rid of you in no time. Okay? So you need to not confuse seniority with safety. You can lead a country, a region, when I say a country head for a company, a product head, and still be gone after one reorg, one merger, some change in strategy at the top level, an acquisition that leads to some redundancy, and then you're out. So just because you're very senior, you may be 20, 30 years in the company, that doesn't mean anything. I've seen leaders become, and this is personal, and Morgan Stanley, so a former banker, was taken to be the CFO at one time, and then on the executive committee as well. And in 8 months, out the door with a severance package. He did not see it coming. And that's not a comment on their value. I mean, they were with the firm for maybe 18 or 17 years before that. It's how institutions protect themselves, whatever the reason was in that case, in that particular situation. So just because you're senior, don't think that you can't be disposed. So you need to be humble about that, right? So I talk a lot about my book, and in our coaching programs, I hear people talking about this, playing the hero or the guide. Don't ever be the hero, my friend. You're never the hero. Anyone that you think is a hero in a company or outside world, sportsman, actor, if you think they're a hero, those that are really good are actually never trying to be the hero. Think about it. Whoever your hero is, Martin Luther King, in my case, Mahatma Gandhi. You think that Mahatma Gandhi was trying to, be the hero and free India without violence and, from the Brits by himself, and wanted to be, called the hero, I'm the best? No. Anybody that you see as a hero has been put on a pedestal by other people, because that person is so devoted to what they do and their art or their craft or whatever it is that they're trying to strengthen in terms of their expression and their skill. We make them heroes. Okay. So if you're trying to be the hero in this example where you think that you're at the top of this hill and you're protected, the answer is look again. Number 10, once you taste status, an achievement, a level that you achieved, stepping down, if you ever had to step down or step away, it feels like failure. I've been there. Raju, what happened to you? You're Morgan Stanley managing director. You were there for 18 years. And when I quit, most people would go, failure. I quit. I wasn't fired. But so what? You start to dissipate in the eyes of the people, or people you care, or not that I care about them anymore. But the thing is, people who you thought cared suddenly fall away. So if you're looking for other people's blessings, validations, etc., stop it. What they think of you, What other people think of you, as my wife used to say, is not your business. And I hope my children have learned that from her and somewhat me. It doesn't matter what people think. So once you taste status, it's hard to step away or step down. Once you're used to a certain level, the idea of any visible step down feels like failure. Corporate reorgs happen all the time. So if, as I said, in a merger, you have two sort of equal people with experience, they got to pick one. And either the one goes right below the other or gets a sort of a position that feels a little lower. Our egos are so big, they get hurt. So you stay even when a part of you knows that this version of your life no longer fits, you still want to hold on to it. You tell yourself that you're being responsible. Often you're actually avoiding the discomfort of saying, I don't know who I would be without a job deeply. So you kind of go with it, but you're uncomfortable. Who is not uncomfortable by being put below somebody else if you were the head of this? Naturally, it feels humiliating. It feels lowering, but because that's the system, going back to the system. So you got to be aware of this. And what you do about it, I don't know, but here I'm just sharing my own experiences with you. Number 11, getting paid well often masks a different problem. Getting paid well is often hiding a different problem. High pay is supposed to feel like you arrived, you're royalty. But oftentimes what it is you have no time, you have no energy, there's no sense of progress. There are no real friendships at work anyway. I mean, if you think that you have lots of friends at work, good for you, but true friendships are not typically at work. So you don't have real friends outside of work either. When the package is strong, money, it becomes easier to stay. I should be grateful. I should be grateful. Instead of, is this actually a good life for me now? Because you keep saying when you go to bed at night, I should be grateful. I should be grateful. Well, fine, that's okay. But think about whether is this actually a good life for you right now. Number 12, the system teaches you that success equals more. It's sort of related to the corporate ladder climbing. If you're going to be successful, that by itself, by the way, a definition that everyone has their own definition. What is success? Success equals more in this corporate definition. More clients, more responsibility. As I said, more teams, more of fill in the blank. So many more things. And naturally, in this context, there is no talk about gratitude. I mean, no one in the company is thanking you from the top to say, wow, you're amazing and your loyalty is rewarded. And yes, they give you a plaque at the end of 15 years and 20 years and 25 years. Those are amazing things. And by the way, in today's day and age, 2026, I don't know about loyalty being 20, 30, 40 years old, but there are people today that I know are with these companies for 30, 40, 50 years. That doesn't seem to be a trend that's going to continue very long anyway. It already has changed. But if you never define enough for yourself, your default career setting becomes more until something breaks. Always more, always more. So for many people, that something is often the health, either your health or your family's health or something like that, because that's on a timeline that breaks. And then all this stuff about what does success equal? It's not more. It becomes less of it and more of, down here in your relationships and health. So that's what I've seen break. Number 13, and I have talked about this a lot and I write about this a lot. You develop a when-then disease. What do I mean by that? When I make this number, then I will slow down. When the kids are older, then I will think about myself. Or when I have enough money, I will then hire a trainer for my health. When I reach X, then I will finally do Y. I mean, that then has moved from 40 to 45 years old to 50 without you ever sitting down and saying, let me change the plan. That number keeps growing. In my case, it was back in the day, it was like $20,000, $50,000. Then I'll go do something else. Or I will then invest in, me to do more of whatever I wanted to learn, new skills that the company wasn't going to pay for. All of that. So when I have $100,000 in the bank, then I will quit to go to another job. Or in the case of Wall Street, when I get to 200,000, 250,000, I will do something else. Or we'll take a cruise or some other trip if if we have this kind of money. So this when then continues. And the timeline keeps drifting because you never call it out. You chase a number that keeps pushing further and further and growing, and you stay, and then you suppress your inner voice because you justify the end with the means. Okay? So this when then is a disease. It's not designed by the system, but most human beings, because of the way we're conditioned, it's sort of, that's where it takes you. Because your condition is all about, what am I pursuing? Am I being successful if I chase that number? Okay, number 14, you start to mistake busyness for meaning. Oh my God, I'm telling you, this was me about 22 years ago. But so many people, friends, some family members who either retired early or, took an early package to go do something else in their life. And they want to be really busy. And then a couple of years later, hey, Raju, just want to talk to you about, how do I find my purpose? I'll tell you that in a minute. But when your calendar is full, your phone is buzzing all the time, your mind cannot stop to really do what it does best. The mind does that best, doesn't stop. So when people are calling you and your phone's buzzing and your calendar is full, basically it feels like you're important. But busy is not the same thing as alive, my friend. You can run an entire month on back-to-back obligations and have not a single slot on your calendar, and you have no clear memory of what, if anything, mattered to you in that month. And you go back, oh my God, this time went so fast. Where did this month go? Where did the year go? That is a warning sign, my friend, not a badge of honor. I mean, that one I recognized a long time ago. But I hope you do too early on. That these are all signals, signs that something isn't, your purpose, as I said, there's no purpose. You're not looking for any purpose. You don't have a big purpose in life. There's no one big purpose. But if you find meaning in whatever you do, even the 10 minutes you might spend with your children, fully present, you can give that meaning. That's the purpose. But if you look at your calendar, tell me that 90% of it is not full with or filled with work-related stuff. Listen, I've been there many, many times. And often I fall trap into that because I'm working hard, as I said earlier. Working hard? For what? Be clear about what that purpose is. What's my purpose of working hard? Or working hard can actually mean putting all your focus into something for an elongated period of time, a long period of time. So it could mean many things. And then it actually connects you here to say, I feel good about what I'm doing. So for me, my success definition is, as long as I'm making progress, I feel successful. And progress towards things I desire. And all of it comes from desire. So if your desire is clear and you own it, you will feel good about the step 1 or the step 2 or the step 3. After all, you can't just be healthy in one day, for example. If your goal is to, I want to be healthy. No, define what you mean by healthy. Do you want to, you have to give very specific things to your goals. I want to feel light on my feet. Forget the weight. It's just like, I want to feel light on my feet so I can actually play tennis with my grandkids. That was one of mine about 7-8 years ago. And so in order to do that, because that reason is so important, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And it doesn't happen one day. It happens in a series of steps every day. So if I'm not exercising every day or every other day or whatever it is that is the modus operandi of getting there. So your desire has to be so strong so that you will not just get busy because, time got away. So don't mistake your busyness for meaning. Find purpose in whatever it is you're expressing from here in your heart. Number 15, if you're responsible for a P&L, this is, again, corporate life. P&L responsibility is typical where you're in charge of revenue or a particular business unit. It's very easy to lose yourself in monthly sprints. What do I mean by that? You live from one close to the next. Monthly closes, quarterly closes, targets. I didn't meet the revenue this time, or cost was too high, so profit was lower. Explaining numbers to your bosses and to analysts and to clients and to other people. It feels really serious. I mean, it is serious, not to joke about this. But the cost is that you stop seeing yourself as a person who's building something over many years and start seeing yourself as the driver of a never-ending race. I mean, who wants to be in a never-ending race? because we have an end, but the end is that little promotion you got. That's the end in that time. Now it's the next, it's the next, it's the next. So your sense of self shrinks down to the person who hits the number. We all fall to the level of our training, as we sometimes say, or you fall to the levels of your belief. Very rarely do you rise to the level of your beliefs. So if your beliefs are different or higher, that's what you want. You want to rise to them. So you become the person who hits the number or the person who misses it. That's your definition right now. So if you carry a P&L, it's very easy to lose yourself in these short-term sprints. Number 16, the system rewards your doing, do, far more than being, right? I mean, that's sort of obvious. Company doesn't pay you to just be the person you are. Nobody pays you more because you become kinder, wiser, or more grounded this quarter. Although, frankly, being kind is very important. It is the most important thing. If you can be kind to your team, your colleagues, and my God, that is what's going to give you more and give the company more and them more. But because we move from a different place, because you believe that's what the system rewards. The system rewarding doing, not you being kind. They pay you because you sold more, or you did more, or you saved more, or you sort of fixed more problems, right? If you do not have even your own way of valuing who you are becoming, you will slowly twist yourself to fit whatever the job needs. Even when that sort of the shape of that job doesn't fit you. You've got to figure out what you're doing with that job or to the job, and what are you bringing to it from the deeper part of you. And you may think that the company doesn't reward that, but your energy, this is the part of the energy that you create, that you offer. If it's contagious, energy is contagious, positive or negative. If you bring a positive energy to something, you're likely to touch people and influence people more and get them to be on your side and collaborate more and partner more. That's it. That's the kindness part. That's the trusting part. That's the giving part. But most of us think the system is designed to basically reward the doing. And that's why we identify with hard work. I work 18 hours. I work 15 hours. Sorry, it's not about how many hours you worked. It's about what you bring to the table. Number 17, you can be admired all around you and still feel alone. What do I mean by that? It means that you heard this saying, it's lonely at the top. At higher levels, people see your role, but not your own struggles or your things you are questioning in your life. They don't see that. They just see your level and they go, oh, he's this CIO, he's a CTO, he's a CEO. They bring you their problems. They rarely ask about your problems because that's what they see in the level. You learn to keep your doubts, because we all have doubts for sure, because you're the strong one. Over time, you can become the most successful and the most alone person in the room at the same time while you're putting out these fires and helping others because they come to you to solve the problem because you're the chief of X, Y, and Z. Number 18, the longer you stay on autopilot, a dangerous place to be, the narrower your options will feel. So you keep rising, you achieve all these, climb these ladders, but now you've achieved and you're at that level where not much else is going to happen. You're among the top folks in the firm or company. The narrower your options will feel, because every year you keep doing the same thing with the same story, the same ladder, the same paycheck. Your imagination starts to tighten. What does that mean? Because what I mean is you start to believe that there are only two options: to stay or blow up everything, stay or go. There are usually more than two, I would tell you. They just do not show themselves to someone who never takes the time or space to look. You need to pause in those situations, because when you're on autopilot, as I said, that's a dangerous place to be. Number 19, most people only question the system when their pain crosses that threshold. What do I mean by that? As long as the trade that you did feels sort of worth it, you keep doing it, right? You're getting paid to do this job and whatever level you achieved. But you would only question the system when the pain is actually too much. The issue is that that your standard for worth it can drop slowly without you knowing it. Because eventually then you go, is this really worth it? Is it really worth it? And then you start to have that threshold of your pain sort of comes closer and closer. Then one day it's, let's say, as I said earlier, a health issue. Either your health issue or your children's or your loved ones, or because that's, again, a personal experience for me. And I've seen some of my clients this past year, suffer a family member's terminal illness, father, parent, some sibling as well, or a quiet moment when you realize that you do not like who you are at home anymore. That's another signal, because you've done this straight, as I said, with the company. You keep climbing all these ladders, but there comes a day when you've sort of lost touch with what does a home life look like, right? And eventually, at some point, hopefully, you say quickly, something has to change. Now, you don't have to wait for that moment to start being more honest with yourself. You can do it now. So I'm just giving you, these thoughts and to say, this is the system that we're part of. Number 20, the last one. Without a good relationship with yourself, it all comes down to this. Without a good relationship with yourself, none of this will feel worth doing for long. And that is the most important one that I've learned. Without some care for your physical health, because you see, you could have billions of dollars that you're chasing or will get, hopefully. Your health will always be the most important thing, because if you don't have your health, none of that matters. Your mental health matters. A sense that you're making progress matters. A few meaningful relationships that are important in your life matters, because they're the ones that care about not your billions, but about you. Your career will feel empty no matter how high you climb. Your career will feel empty no matter how high you climb. Remember that. Trust me, that's the system that you're part of. So here's an important point I want to make. You can only give to your team and others or your family from a full cup. Corporate life is very good at convincing you that work is the cup. Work is not the cup, my friend. Work is what you pour from the cup. Does that make sense? Corporate life is very good at convincing you that work is the cup. But work is not the cup. Work is what you pour from the cup. Ponder that. So that's number 20. Your relationship with yourself is the most important. So you have got to figure out who you are. Listen, I'm not sharing these truths to tell you what to do. I'm certainly not asking you to just simply quit. No, these are mine. They came from my 28 years of corporate life, and then working for the past 21 years as an entrepreneur and coaching a lot of leaders. I'm just sharing you what's inside the system. And it could be different for different companies, but the system's more or less, I think, the same. And years that I've been sitting with leaders who trusted me enough to say what they really feel in the safe space that I create for them in our coaching that I do. You do not have to listen to me. You just have to decide what's important to you, okay? So the only question that matters at the end of this episode is this. Which one or two of the 20 that I gave you already are showing up in your life? And what, if anything, are you willing to do about them now, not later, now? So I wish I had created this quiz that I did a few years ago. I wish I had that before I left in a huff 21 years ago. It's called the Career Crossroads Quiz. Now, you may not be at a crossroads, like you make a decision, as I said, to leave or stay, whatever. That is not the point. But whatever these reflections are in this quiz, I think there's about 6 or 7 pillars that I wish I had that. I may have stayed on a bit longer. And then because I wanted to leave anyway. I was trying to leave many years before that. So I was all set. It's just that certain things I wasn't ready for. And I wish I had known this assessment tool that existed, that it would have helped me figure out that I could have stayed with a different mindset that I could have developed or had, and I didn't pay attention. So anyway, so the Career Crossroads quiz link is below in this at the end of this episode. My name is Raju Panjwani, and I will see you in the next episode, my friend.